buddy JC here with another T&I toy review, and today's review is in association with MarvelousNews.com, your #1 news source for everything Marvel. And today we're going to take a look at one of Hasbro's new superhero mashers, the Green Goblin figure. Now this figure is part of the basic assortment, which basically have minimal accessories and costs around $10 at retail. This figure is part of the second wave of figures in this series. And just like the figures in the first wave, it basically comes in the exact same kind of packaging, window box type packaging. You've got a picture of a conglomerate of one of the figures on the left side, basically Spider-Man's head, Captain America's body, Hulk's fist and leg, one of Iron Man's legs, and one of Spider-Man's hands. And then you've got the figure clearly displayed in the window box packaging, and then you've got the name of the character up on the upper corner on the right side. And then down below you've got the Marvel Superhero Mashers logo. On the back side, you've got a picture of the other figures in the second wave, which includes Green Goblin, Venom, Wolverine, and brown costume Wolverine, and Iron Man in black and gold armor. And these figures are starting to hit retail shelves now. And then on the left side you've got a picture of basically a conglomerate of the figures in the second wave. You've got Green Goblin's body with his pumpkin bombs, Venom's fist, brown costume Wolverine's leg, and Iron Man's leg. And then it kind of shows you how you can basically intermix the parts, which is the gimmick for this line. Okay, so let's get the figure open and take a look at what's inside. So here's a look at the figure outside of the packaging, and as you can see, like with all the figures in this wave, these figures are designed with a much kind of bulkier, cartoony look to them. This is a line definitely geared more towards kids than collectors, though it seems to have become somewhat popular with collectors as well. As long as you take it for what it is, it's a kind of a cool line. Definitely seems to be fun for kids as well, with the interchangeable parts and everything. And these figures actually have halfway decent articulation to boot. But anyway, so we've got the Green Goblin here. He's got the big smile face, basic paint apps, not really much in the way of shading or anything, but basic greens for the skin color, and then for the costume itself he's got purple, which is very true to what you see in the comic books and his classic look and everything. He comes with 3 pumpkin bombs for an accessory, and they're basically all the same. Each have little faces, which are basically the same faces on each one, and then they have little pegs at the bottom, so you can fit the pumpkins into his hand or any of the holes that could be found on the body. The sculpting texture on the green skin is made to look scaly and everything, which is pretty nice. And then again, he's got the little holes throughout the body, so you can do interchangeable parts and accessories on the figure as you want. This is pretty standard for all the figures in this line. This figure stands at just about 6 1/4 inches tall, and about the same size as the other figures in the line. They don't vary too much in scale. So here he is next to Spider-Man. You can see, Goblin may be just a hair taller than Spider-Man, but for the most part they're about the same size. Here he is next to Thor. So again, you can see they're pretty much about the same height. So scale-wise, the figures in this line are fairly generic. Some figures may be a little bit bulkier than others. For instance, here he is next to Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom's a little bit bulkier with his armor and everything, but for the most part, they are the same height. To give you a comparison, here's the Green Goblin next to some other Green Goblin figures, some Marvel Legends, different Marvel Legends, and even the Marvel Universe Green Goblin, just to give you some size comparison. One accessory that this figure does not have, which would have been pretty cool, I wish they had included, was obviously his Goblin glider. He does not come with a glider. Now, if you have some of those Marvel Legend versions that I showed you, then you might be able to find a compatible glider to go with this figure if you really wanted to. You can see I forget which glider this particular glider which figure this one belonged to, but it works pretty well with this figure. The feet just slide in. Again, though, off the top of my head, I don't remember which glider or which figure this glider came with originally. But like I said, if you've got previous Marvel Legends Green Goblins figures, then you might be able to find a compatible glider to go with this if you wanted to. But the figure itself does not come with one, unfortunately. Okay, so for articulation on these, it's pretty standard with all the figures in this line. It's not horrid articulation, actually. For this kind of line, it's actually pretty good. But let's just go over it real quick. The head's on a ball joint, so he can look up and down, left and right, can kind of tilt his head. Now, his head is the back, moving his head up to look upwards is restricted a little bit with the hood on the back of his head, but he's still got, even still with the hood, he's still got pretty good up movement with the head. Arms are attached, standard ball hinge joints at the shoulder, so he can put his arm all the way out pretty good, and he's got good rotation. Single hinged elbow, but he can bend his elbow pretty good, and he's got the swivel at the elbow. And then there's no kind of wrist articulation with these figures, which on this one would have been kind of nice just to kind of give his hands in better positions to throw his pumpkin bombs. But it's really just not something we see on these figures. Same thing with the midsection. There's really no midsection articulation with these figures. And then the legs are attached with ball hinge joints, so he's got good up and down movement, and he can do the splits pretty good. And then he's got the swivel single hinge knees, so he can bend his knee pretty good. And then they do have ankle hinges, so he can do his feet up and down nicely. Obviously, the main gimmick with this line, the whole Master line, is that you can disassemble the figures and basically interchange the parts between all the different figures in the line. So here's the Green Goblin figure, basically totally disassembled. And then, like I said, you can, if you want, this is something that probably appeals much more to kids. For an adult collector, really doesn't make a lot of sense of sticking Spider-Man's head on Green Goblin's body or arms or legs or what have you. But from a kid's standpoint, I could see how this could be fun. So just for demonstration purposes, we'll take the Iron Patriot, which obviously was originally Norman Osborn, who's also the Green Goblin. So just for a little bit of fun, you can take basically, if you wanted to take the heads, and you could stick the Green Goblin's head on the Iron Patriot's body. You could stick the Iron Patriot's head on the Green Goblin's body, just to kind of give you an intermix. Take Spider-Man, put his lower arm on, and you can stick the Green Goblin's legs, which the legs are basically in two different parts, the upper leg and the lower leg. So if you wanted to intermix, you could have the Green Goblin's upper leg and then Spider-Man's lower leg. So again, I forgot a lower leg piece here. So again, it's kind of silly, and it obviously is a gimmick to appeal to kids, but if you wanted to intermix your parts, in all the figures, whether it's a deluxe, basic, electronic figure, the parts are all intermixable, so you can basically combine as many different figures as you want in any kind of form that essentially you want. Okay, so that does it for my review. Overall, I like this figure. I think it looks pretty good, very reminiscent of the classic Green Goblin look. My only complaint really is it doesn't come with a Goblin glider, which I think would have been a really cool accessory to have. But other than that, I think this is a pretty cool figure. Now, that's, again, assuming that you take this line for what it is, that it's a kids line with a fun gimmick meant to appeal to kids, and with figures that have a kind of cartoony, blockier look than your more traditional Marvel Legends type line. So obviously I'm not really comparing this to Marvel Legends quality of figure, but for what it is, I think it's a very cool line, and this is a pretty cool figure in that line. As I mentioned, this figure, which is part of the second wave, is starting to hit retail now. So if you want to pick it up, start checking your favorite retailer that's been carrying the mashers, which is pretty much all of them as far as I could tell. Target, Walmart, Toys R Us. You can pretty much find these at all the major retailers that sell Marvel type figures. So start looking now, and until next time, I'll check you later.